Today, we're doing something a little different. We're conducting a digital autopsy. We're looking at a name that, for a while, literally was the internet. Netscape, a true titan that flew to these unbelievable heights and then, in just a few years, poof, gone, almost completely vanished. So let's dive in and figure out what on earth happened.
I mean, just look at this. It's wild. In 1995, Netscape Navigator wasn't just leading the pack. It was the whole pack. It had the vast majority of the browser market. But fast forward to 2002, and it's basically a ghost, a footnote in the very story it helped create. So the big question we have to ask is how, right? How does a company with that kind of a head start, that much brand power, fail so completely?
All right, so we're going to treat this like a real investigation. We're going to look at the key moments, the critical decisions, and the huge miscalculations that led to this spectacular downfall. It's a story about competition, for sure, but really, it's a story of internal strategy just gone completely wrong. To really get the scale of this collapse, you first have to understand just how high up they were. So let's go back in time, back to the mid-90s. The internet is shiny and new, it's exciting, a little bit like the Wild West. And Netscape? Well, Netscape was the company handing out the maps to everyone. Think about this number for a second. 90%. At its peak, that's the market share Netscape had. This wasn't just being a market leader. This was, for all intents and purposes, a monopoly. If you wanted to get on the World Wide Web, chances are you were double-clicking that Netscape Navigator icon.
And that's the thing, the brand was so strong, the software was so everywhere, that for so many people, the company and the internet itself were basically the same thing. Netscape wasn't just a program on your computer, it was the front door to this whole new digital universe. But that kind of dominance, it gets noticed. Way up in Redmond, Washington, a sleeping giant called Microsoft finally woke up. And it didn't just see Netscape as another company, it saw it as a genuine threat to its entire Windows empire. And just like that, the browser wars were on. And this is where the two strategies just smash right into each other. Netscape's plan was pretty traditional, right? Build a great piece of software, Netscape Navigator, and sell it. Microsoft, on the other hand, pulled a move that changed the entire game. They decided their browser, Internet Explorer, was going to be 100% free. So how do you even begin to compete with free? Especially when free is being delivered by the most powerful distribution channel in the world. See, Microsoft just bundled Internet Explorer with every single copy of Windows. For the average person buying a new PC, the browser was just there. You didn't have to download it, you didn't have to buy it. That was the tidal wave that Netscape just couldn't swim against. But here's the twist. As devastating as Microsoft's attack was, that's not the whole story, not even close. Many of Netscape's worst wounds were completely self-inflicted. So now, let's turn our attention inward and look at the strategic mistakes that really sealed their fate. It all boils down to this really tragic chain of events. First, they were way too slow to take Microsoft seriously. I mean, they were the kings of the internet. Why worry about some old software company? Second, they totally lost focus. And third, their execution, their ability to actually build and ship a good product, it just fell apart at the worst possible time. And that loss of focus, that was a killer. Instead of pouring all their energy into making their browser faster and better, Netscape got distracted. They got obsessed with the idea that they had to build an entire platform to compete with Microsoft. So they started creating this massive software suite called Communicator. It was bloated, it had features nobody was asking for, and it pulled all their best people away from the actual browser war they were losing. They just took their eye off the ball. And this was the result. While Microsoft was pushing out faster and better versions of Internet Explorer one after another, Netscape got stuck in this huge, complicated rewrite. Their main product, the thing that made them famous, suddenly got a reputation for being buggy and slow. And users, who now had a free, fast alternative already sitting on their desktop, they started to leave, in droves. Okay, so what's the big lesson here? What do we take away from all this? The story of Netscape isn't just some old tech story. It's one of the all-time great business cautionary tales. And the lessons from its failure are just as critical for any company today as they were back then. So let's break down the big takeaways. First, a brilliant product is kind of useless if people can't get their hands on it easily. Distribution can absolutely beat a better product. Second,
Never, and I mean never, underestimate your competition, especially a giant company with deep pockets. And finally, and this might be the most important one, focus. Your focus is your greatest weapon. Do one thing and do it better than anybody else.
And all of that brings us to one final big question. As you look around at the tech world today, at the huge platforms, the walled gardens, the massive companies bottling it out, you have to ask, are we seeing history repeat itself? Which of today's tech giants might be forgetting the hard lessons from Netscape's fall? Definitely something to think about.